Hello, YouTube. This is Huntsman9, and today I'll be making a video about the whole thing with Capcom and a new Darkstalkers game. But first, I need to clear something up. So, from what I understand, there are certain videos online on YouTube where people are calling others weirdos or giving flack or backlash to those that have a different opinion about, graphics, especially graphics like Street Fighter 4 graphics, right? So, saying that you're a person or like someone like me is a weirdo just because we like different graphics, right? But here's the thing. I'm the type of person that likes 3D graphics and 2D graphics. A good example for 2D graphic game that I also like is a game like King of Fighters 13. The art style for that game and mechanics were amazing for that game, and it's very underrated. I barely see anyone even talk about a game like KOF 13. Or also another good example is this game you see before you right now. It's called Dawn of the Monsters. So what I need to be saying about this whole thing about, oh, you're a weirdo because, you like 3D graphics or this type of graphics, what have you. But another point I have to make is that, even when it comes to 3D graphics, say for Capcom, if they made a new Darkstalkers game, let's say they did make it 3D, right? That doesn't mean that the 3D graphics have to look exactly like Street Fighter 4. However, I'm using Street Fighter 4 as a good example, but what would make a even better example for graphics is a game like this that you see in the background, but like I said, or even if it was 3D, what matters is how, is the game fast-paced and fun like Third Strike? Another thing is, just because it has the idea behind the game like Darkstalkers having, graphics like Street Fighter 4, that doesn't mean that they couldn't make graphics that would fit Darkstalkers as the best way to put it is art style that would work for 3D graphics for a game like Darkstalkers. You know what I'm saying? Similar to, it's basically all about as long as it's done right, and you make it work, it can work. It's not like, oh, this Darkstalkers will only work for 2D. You know what I'm saying? It can work for 3D as well as far as art style goes. Same thing with, what happened with a game like Dragon Ball Fighters. You know what I'm saying? It's not really 3D and it's not really 2D, right? Somewhat along the lines of that. Or let's say, for instance, if we got, let's say, a game like a live-action Dragon Ball Z video game. I know some people would probably laugh at that and say, oh, that wouldn't be good. Really? A good example of how that would work is like, look at the, what's it called, live-action fan-made, movie for that game, a movie for that anime. You know what I'm saying? It's called Light of Hope. It's kind of like if it's like if you picture that movie, right? And someone decided, how about we actually make a movie out of this, right? But then they added, more details and made the graphics more fleshed out. It could work, and it would look good. You know what I'm saying? As long as they're not like, doing shortcuts when it comes to the animations and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or we could take a look at Final Fantasy, right? Like for instance, Final Fantasy Live, let's say Final Fantasy Advent Children. the graphics for that movie looked amazing. Imagine if someone used graphics like that for, a 2D fighter, but something that would work when it comes to the art style. The point is, it's how it's it's how you use the art style. It's how you use the graphics. But again, this whole thing with these excuses that people have been using with, oh, you're not a fan or a real fan because you don't do this like us, or you don't do that, or because you don't like this or like that, so you're not in with the in crowd, that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? You, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to be a fan to like or enjoy something. You don't have to be a fan to support something. You know what I'm saying? I could sit here with a bunch of manga in my room, right? But that doesn't mean I'm actually a fan. That could be just a bunch of stuff for show. And by the way, the reason why I could pass for a fan is because I grew up with Street Fighter and Darkstalkers. Yeah, and Capcom, what I need to say to you is that you shouldn't worry about, these so-called fans or fans when it comes to, people being finicky about a game, or, you know what I'm saying? Best way to put it is that, you know, you really shouldn't have to worry about if, fans would probably just like, turn their backs on you just because there's something that they didn't like. But take this with a grain of salt, Capcom. The best the best way to put it, what I'm trying to tell you is, for a game like, if you made a new Darkstalkers game or made some other new game or whatever it is for fighting game, what matters is if you're making a game where everyone's happy, this is like, something that everyone can enjoy and like. You know what I'm saying? As long as you do that, there should be no problems, and especially as long as you have, the fast-paced combat like Third Strike or Guilty Gear. You know what I'm saying, Capcom? But there's another reason why I'm bringing this up, because let's say, for instance, if Capcom made a new fighter game, or I should say, they made a new Darkstalkers game, right? And they did everything right, or they did like, basically they had the graphics right, they had all the things right, whatever it is, right? Whether it was live action graphics, 3D graphics, or 2.0 graphics, or a combination, what have you. Let's say Capcom did everything right with for their game, and some of the fans or all the fans just decided they just didn't like it for whatever reason, right? Then at that point, you're just being closed-minded. At that point, you really are being closed-minded. And at that point, it's not on the gaming company, it's on you. If there literally is no problems with the game, and you're just complaining about it, then that comes down to an opinion, which you have a right to your opinion. But realistically, if there's nothing wrong with the game, it would just be plain ridiculous for anyone to just turn their back and be like, oh, the fans just didn't like it because, X, Y, and Z, but they didn't have a legit reason for why they didn't like it. Do you see what I'm saying? If it came down to something like that. But, these are just one of the things I needed to bring up when it comes to, fandom and, Capcom, or any fighting game in particular. And by the way, Capcom, I'm proof of you know, that there are some fans like me. I mean, I don't consider myself a fan. I could pass as one, obviously,
We've picked up some encoded radio
but
signals not far from the area you cleared.
the main reason why I have to bring this up when it comes to fandom of, you know, like I said, being proof of there are people like me who are, who can, that like neutral things or like a fine line between things that are both something and something else, you know, that type of thing. Or the best way to put it is reasonable, you know, to a certain degree. But I had to clarify this because when it comes to fans and fandom, not all of us are the same. Not all of us think the same. Not all of us have the same opinions. And I just thought I would bring that up so people know. And Capcom, I need to say that you can't be afraid, you know, to try something new when it comes to Darkstalkers. You know, when it comes to a game like that, when it comes to reviving a game like Darkstalkers, you can't be afraid of, you know, what the fans will think. Because what if you do something that the fans actually do like? You know what I'm saying? But like I said, take it with a grain of salt of what I said about, you know, basically doing something the right way.